The Invisible Princes. In the heart of a vast and ancient land lay the kingdom of Eldoria, a place whispered about in the tales of wandering bards and chronicled in the worn pages of history. Eldoria was a realm of soaring towers, cobblestone streets shimmering under the morning sun, and lush gardens where the scents of blooming jasmine and roses filled the air. It was a kingdom ruled by kindness and wisdom, where the king and queen were beloved by all who dwelled within its walls. King Thaddeus and Queen Seraphina were the proud parents of twin princes, Alaric and Caelum, who had been born on a night when the stars shone brighter than anyone could remember. The birth of the twins was celebrated with great joy throughout the land. The people believed that such a rare and wondrous event was a blessing from the heavens, a promise of a glorious future for Eldoria. Yet, beneath the splendor and celebration there was a secret, hidden from the eyes of the world. A secret that only a few trusted souls knew and guarded fiercely. For the princes, Alaric and Caelum, were invisible, not in the sense of being mere shadows or spirits, but truly unseen to the naked eye by nearly everyone in the kingdom. They moved through the castle corridors and wandered the gardens unseen by courtiers, soldiers, and even their own tutors. Only a handful of trusted individuals could see them, hear their voices, and speak to them. Among these few was a young maid named Mira, whose sharp eyes and kind heart made her the prince's steadfast ally. The vanishing of the princes. It had started just weeks after the twins turned 10. One morning, the royal family awoke to find the princes missing from the grand halls where they had slept and played the night before. Search parties scoured the castle and the surrounding lands, but Alaric and Caelum were nowhere to be found. Rumors spread quickly. Some said the princes had been kidnapped by a rival kingdom, while others whispered of dark magic and curses. The queen wept in secret, and the king's usually confident voice trembled as he addressed his council. But the truth was far stranger. The princes had not vanished. They had become invisible. Mira's discovery. Mira had been a servant in the castle since she was a child. Her family had served the royal house for generations, and her loyalty to the king and queen ran as deep as the castle's ancient foundations. She was small and unassuming, with eyes the color of polished amber and hair the shade of autumn leaves. On the day the princes disappeared, Mira was cleaning the nursery when she heard soft laughter and footsteps. She turned, expecting to see the boys playing, but the room was empty. Confused, she thought she must have imagined it, but then a small toy, a carved wooden horse, rolled across the floor on its own, stopping just at the edge, a faint shimmer in the air. Mira blinked, her heart pounding. "Alaric, Caelum," she whispered. To her astonishment, the air before her rippled, and two faint outlines emerged, transparent but unmistakably the shapes of the princes. Their laughter turned into warm smiles as they saw Mira. "You can see us?" Alaric asked, his voice a mixture of wonder and relief. "Yes," Mira answered, awe filling her voice. "How is this possible? Where have you been?" The princes explained that an ancient curse had made them invisible to protect them from an unknown threat, but no one else in the castle could see or hear them. Mira's ability to perceive them was a rare gift, and from that moment she vowed to help the princes navigate their hidden existence. Life as an invisible prince. The days that followed were a strange new world for Alaric and Caelum. They wandered the castle halls unseen, listening to conversations and exploring places they had never been allowed before. The courtiers talked about the missing princes with growing despair, unaware that the boys were near, watching, listening, and longing to be seen. Mira became their guide, helping them avoid dangers and sneaking food to them from the kitchens. She learned to interpret their faint movements and voices, and they developed a secret language of gestures and whispers. The princes found ways to communicate with their parents through written notes hidden in secret places, but the king and queen's sorrow only grew with each passing day. The castle in confusion. Within the castle walls, the disappearance of the princes created unrest. The nobles whispered in darkened corridors, some fearing that a rival kingdom was plotting to overthrow Eldoria's throne. The royal guards doubled their patrols, yet the mystery only deepened. The kingdom's people, too, felt the absence of their heirs. Festivals were muted, and the once vibrant streets seemed duller without the joyful presence of the young princes. King Thaddeus issued a proclamation promising that his sons would return. But even he wondered if the magic that had hidden them would ever be broken. Mira's courage. Mira's role was not without danger. If anyone discovered that she could see the princes, she might be accused of witchcraft or conspiracy. Yet, her loyalty outweighed her fear. She found solace in the quiet moments she shared with Alaric and Caelum, teaching them about the world outside their invisibility and helping them keep their spirits alive. Together they planned how to break the curse that kept the princes hidden from the world, a curse that was as mysterious as the magic that had created it. A glimpse of hope. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky with shades of violet and gold, Mira sat with the princes in the secret garden hidden behind the castle. The air was thick with the scent of night-blooming flowers. "Do you think we will ever be seen again?" Caelum asked quietly. Alaric looked at his brother, then at Mira. "We must believe we can. The kingdom needs us, and we need to find a way to be visible again." Mira smiled softly. "And I will help you, no matter what." In the fading light, the invisible princes and their loyal friend forged a bond stronger than any magic. A promise to face whatever dangers lay ahead, together. The kingdom of Eldoria slumbered beneath the stars, unaware that its future depended on two unseen boys and a courageous maid who dared to see the invisible. The curse revealed. The night air in Eldoria was thick with silence, broken only by the gentle rustling of leaves in the castle gardens. As Mira tended to the hidden princes, her mind often drifted to the mystery that had stolen them from the eyes of the world. How had such a thing come to be? What dark magic could render the heirs to the throne invisible, and why? Tonight, as the silver moon cast pale light on the ancient stones of Eldoria, Mira would learn the truth. The sorcerer's wrath. Long before the birth of Alaric and Caelum, Eldoria was a peaceful kingdom, but it was not without enemies. Hidden in the shadows beyond the kingdom's borders was a sorcerer named Malachi, a man consumed by envy and bitterness. Malachi had once sought favor in the royal court, offering his knowledge of magic to protect Eldoria. But the king and queen, wise and just, saw through his pride and cruelty and refused his service. Humiliated and scorned, Malachi retreated to the dark forests, where he plotted revenge. He vowed that no heir of Eldoria would ever claim the throne in peace. The curse cast. The night of the twin princes' birth was meant to be one of celebration, but in the dark woods, Malachi prepared a spell unlike any before. With a voice as cold as the winter wind, he invoked an ancient curse designed to shatter the royal bloodline's connection to the world. "When the heirs come into this world, they shall be unseen, invisible to all but those pure and keen. They shall wander alone, cloaked from sight, until courage and kindness bring back the light. Malachi's curse was a cruel enchantment, one that would hide the princes away, invisible to everyone but a rare few with hearts untouched by greed or fear. The curse bound the princes in a liminal state, neither fully present nor absent, existing in a shadow realm of invisibility. The magic of the curse. Magic in Eldoria was old and woven deeply into the land, but Malachi's curse was unlike anything anyone had encountered. It created a barrier between the princes and the physical world, one that only a handful could pierce. The rules of the curse were precise. Elect princes would be invisible to all except those who possessed rare qualities: kindness, bravery, and unwavering loyalty. The curse could only be broken when the princes demonstrated true courage and selfless kindness, showing they were worthy to lead. Until then, they would remain hidden, forced to learn the ways of invisibility and the loneliness it brought. The curse was a test, a harsh and unforgiving challenge set by a vengeful sorcerer, designed to keep the princes away until they could prove their worth. The princes' early days of invisibility. When the curse took hold, Alaric and Caelum were just infants. Their parents, desperate to save them, sought every healer, mage, and wise woman in the kingdom. But none could undo Malachi's magic. The king and queen, heartbroken yet resolute, vowed to protect their sons and find a way to break the curse. As the princes grew, so too did their strange existence. They learned that they could move unseen through the castle, hear whispers and footsteps, but never be noticed. Their voices echoed faintly, only audible to a chosen few. At first, invisibility felt like a blessing, a secret power that allowed them freedom, but soon its shadow became heavy, the isolation and loneliness. Invisible to friends and family, the princes experienced a loneliness that no child should endure. They watched from unseen corners as their tutors taught lessons they could not join. They heard their parents' loving words, but could not comfort them in return. Even the joyful laughter of the castle halls seemed distant and unreachable. Alaric, the elder twin, was strong-willed and fiery, often frustrated by his invisibility. He longed to be seen, to be recognized as a prince worthy of his name. Caelum, quieter and more thoughtful, found solace in the hidden corners of the castle, drawing pictures and writing stories about the world he could only observe from afar, learning the limits of their condition. The princes began to discover the strange nature of their invisibility. They realized that they could interact with objects, sometimes moving things to catch attention or leave signs of their presence. But these actions only brought confusion and fear to those who found them. They could not touch or hold hands with others, could not play or share simple joys. Their invisibility was not just a physical absence, but a barrier to human connection. Mira's role in their lives. Only Mira, the loyal maid, could see and hear them clearly. Her kindness and unwavering loyalty made her the prince's lifeline to the outside world. She became their teacher in a new kind of life, showing them how to move quietly, how to hide their voices, and how to stay safe in a castle that now felt like a cage. "Mira," Alaric once said, "sometimes I wonder if we will ever be free." Mira smiled gently. "You will, my princes. The curse is strong, but it is not unbreakable. It is your courage and kindness that will bring back the light." A glimmer of hope. Despite the curse's cruelty, the princes were not broken. Instead, their struggle forged in them a quiet strength. They began to understand that invisibility was not just a punishment, but a lesson, a chance to learn humility, patience, and empathy. They started to look beyond their own pain, thinking of the kingdom they would one day serve. They dreamed of the day when they would stand before their people, no longer unseen but shining with the light of true leadership. The sorcerer's threat looms. Malachi's shadow still lingered beyond the borders of Eldoria, watching and waiting. The sorcerer's curse was not merely a test, it was a trap. If the princes failed, if they gave in to despair or selfishness, the curse would deepen, and their invisibility would become permanent. Worse still, Malachi's magic threatened to corrupt the kingdom itself, spreading shadows of fear and distrust among the people. The stakes were high, and the time to break the curse was running out. The burden of the invisible princes. As Mira tended to the princes that night, she saw not just two boys cloaked in magic, but the future of Eldoria. Their invisibility was a burden, yes, but also a secret power. It forced them to grow in ways other princes never had, to learn the true meaning of courage and kindness. And so, under the watchful stars, the invisible princes prepared for the greatest challenge of their lives, to prove they were worthy, to reclaim their place, and to bring light back to their kingdom. A dangerous quest begins. The first rays of dawn spilled gently over the towering spires of Eldoria Castle, casting long shadows across the ancient stone walls. Inside the quiet chambers, the invisible princes, Alaric and Caelum, stirred with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Today was different. Today they would no longer be prisoners of their invisibility within the castle walls. Today they would begin a quest that might finally break the curse. A plan forged in secret. For many weeks, Alaric, Caelum, and their loyal friend Mira had met in whispered secrecy, planning a way to find the legendary Crystal of Truth. The crystal was said to possess the power to reveal hidden things and pierce through any enchantment. Exactly what they needed to undo the curse that shrouded to the forgotten crystal caverns where the magic slept. The risk was great. The kingdom beyond Eldoria's borders was wild and unknown, full of dangers that the princes had only heard of in tales. But there was no choice. The curse could not be broken within the safety of the castle. The princes had to prove their worth by venturing into the unknown. Preparations for departure. That night, Mira quietly packed a small bag with essentials: dried bread and cheese, a flask of water, a warm cloak, and a silver pendant gifted by the queen, an heirloom said to protect its bearer from harm. She also brought a small charm, a tiny glass orb that glowed faintly in the dark. "This will help you find your way," she explained, handing it to Alaric. The princes nodded solemnly. For the first time, they were not just children hidden by magic. They were travelers, adventurers, and perhaps heroes in the making, stealing away in the night. As the castle's guards patrolled the moonlit halls, Mira led the invisible princes through secret passages known only to a few. Their footsteps were silent, their forms unseen. Outside, the cold night air was sharp and fresh. The castle gates stood tall but open. Most of the guards had retired to their quarters, unaware of the secret escape unfolding beneath their noses. Once beyond the walls, the twins took a deep breath of the night's cool breeze. Though invisible to the world, their hearts felt as if they were shining bright. The world beyond Eldoria. As the first stars faded with the coming dawn, the princes saw the light filtered through the thick canopy, casting dancing patterns on the mossy floor. As they stepped deeper, the forest's whispers grew, soft voices carried on the breeze, indistinct but haunting. Alaric gripped the silver pendant, feeling its warmth. "We must stay close and trust one another." Suddenly, a rustle sounded nearby. The princes froze, eyes wide. From behind a large oak stepped a small, sleek fox with fur shimmering like liquid silver. The fox regarded them with intelligent eyes. "Travelers of Eldoria, why do you enter the forest unseen?" Mira gasped softly. "You can see us?" The fox nodded. "I can see what others cannot. I am Faelan, guardian of these woods. I have been watching your journey. The crystal you seek is not far, but the path is perilous. Will you accept my guidance?" Alaric and Caelum exchanged glances. After a moment, Alaric nodded. "We accept." The journey grows harder. With Faelan's guidance, they moved deeper into the forest. The trees seemed to close in around them, and strange sounds echoed, whispers that seemed to shift and change. At times, the shadows danced oddly, and the ground beneath their feet felt alive. The princes learned to move with care, their senses sharp. Caelum shivered but found courage in Alaric's steady presence. Mira, too, kept watchful eyes on their surroundings, her heart pounding with every snap of twig or distant howl, a glimpse of danger. As twilight fell, the group reached a clearing where the air shimmered strangely. In the center stood a stone archway covered in vines and glowing runes. Faelan spoke gravely. "This is the threshold to the crystal caverns. Beyond here, dark magic waits to test your hearts and minds." Mira stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on the prince's shoulders. "We've come this far. We cannot turn back now." Alaric looked up at the glowing runes, determination in his voice. "We face whatever comes next, for the kingdom and for ourselves." The weight of the quest. As night settled, the invisible princes and their companions prepared to cross into the unknown depths. Though hidden from sight, their presence was a beacon of hope and courage. The crystal of truth awaited, a chance to break the curse and restore their place in the world. But the path would demand more than bravery. It would test their kindness, their loyalty, and their very souls. The Forest of Whispers. The air grew thick with magic as Alaric, Caelum, Mira, and their new companion, Faelan, the silver fox, stepped beneath the towering canopy of the Whispering Woods. The forest welcomed them with an eerie hush, as if it were holding its breath, waiting to see whether these invisible travelers would prove worthy. "Your courage. Step carefully, and with faith." Alaric took the lead, his footsteps firm but careful. The bridge creaked and groaned beneath them, but held. One by one they crossed, supporting each other against the sway of the unseen wind. When they reached the other side, the forest seemed to soften, the whispers fading to gentle murmurs. Meeting the forest guardians. Further along the path, a sudden rustling drew their attention. From the bushes emerged creatures unlike any the princes had seen. Small beings with eyes like glowing embers, their bodies covered in leaves and bark. They moved with grace, whispering in a language that sounded like the wind itself. Faelan bowed his head respectfully. "These are the Sylvans, guardians of the forest." One Sylvan stepped forward, her voice a melody, blending with the rustling leaves. "Travelers, why do you enter the Forest of Whispers?" Mira answered boldly. "We seek the crystal of truth to break a terrible curse. We mean no harm." The Sylvans exchanged looks. Then the leader smiled softly. "Your hearts speak true. We will guide you through the forest's depths, but beware, the forest will test your kindness as well as your courage." As the group followed the Sylvans, they came upon a clearing where a great ancient tree lay fallen, its roots uprooted and tangled. Near the tree, a small creature, a young deer with a wounded leg, struggled weakly. Alaric immediately knelt beside it. "We can't leave it here." Mira nodded. "We must help, even if it slows us." Carefully, Caelum used strips of cloth from their packs to bind the deer's leg. Mira whispered soothing words, and the creature's eyes glistened with gratitude. The Sylvan leader watched closely. True kindness shines even in the darkest places. You pass this test. Faelan, the loyal guide. That night, as they camped beneath the ancient trees, Faelan curled at the prince's feet and spoke of the forest's magic. "I have lived here for centuries," he said softly. "The Forest of Whispers protects itself with enchantments and illusions to keep out those unworthy, but it also protects the secrets you seek." Alaric looked at the fox. "Why do you help us?" Faelan's amber eyes sparkled. "Because your quest is just. Because I sense the courage and kindness you carry within. I have seen too many lose their way in these woods. Do not be among them." Caelum smiled faintly. "We are grateful for your guidance." A glimpse of the crystal's power. As dawn broke, the forest's whispers softened to a gentle breeze. The path ahead seemed clearer, and the map Mira carried glowed faintly, a sign that they neared the crystal caverns. The seeds of distrust took root. The queen's growing worry. Queen Seraphina paced her private chambers, her face pale and drawn. She had felt the weight of the kingdom's sorrow, but also the undercurrents of unease swirling around her court. "Mira," she said quietly to the young maid who served her faithfully, "I fear we are surrounded by shadows as dangerous as the curse itself." Mira nodded solemnly. "My queen, I have seen strange eyes watching the castle and whispers that chill the air." The queen's hands clenched tightly. "I pray the princes are safe, but we must be vigilant. I fear betrayal more than any magic." The king's council. King Thaddeus summoned his most trusted council for an emergency meeting in the Great Hall. The air was thick with tension as the lords and ladies took their seats beneath the grand tapestries depicting Eldoria's proud history. "Friends," the king began, voice steady but weary, "these are perilous times. The absence of my sons weighs heavily on us all, yet we must not let fear divide us." Varric sat among them, his expression carefully neutral, but behind his eyes lay a fire of greed. "Your Majesty," Varric said smoothly, "perhaps it is time to consider a regency, a ruling council to guide the kingdom until the prince's return." A murmur rippled through the hall. The king's jaw tightened. "The throne is not vacant," Thaddeus replied firmly. "My sons are alive, and they will return." A secret meeting. Late that night, Varric met with a small group of conspirators in a hidden chamber beneath the castle. Flickering torches cast eerie light on faces filled with greed and ambition. "We cannot wait for the princes to return," Varric whispered. "Their invisibility is a curse, and a tool we can use. If we claim control of the throne now, we can decide the kingdom's fate." One conspirator, a cold-eyed knight named Ser Garin, leaned forward. "And if the princes return to challenge us?" Varric smiled thinly. "Then we ensure they remain unseen, not just by the people, but forever." The prince's vulnerability. Meanwhile, far from these dark plots, Alaric and Caelum remained unaware of the dangers growing at home. Yet the realization dawned slowly that their invisibility came at a cost, not only isolation but vulnerability. "We cannot trust everyone," Alaric said one evening to Mira, his voice heavy. "There are those who would see us fall, who would use this curse to their advantage." Mira nodded, her eyes fierce with loyalty. "We must be cautious. Not everyone wears their true face." Caelum shivered. "But how do we fight shadows we cannot see?" Back in Eldoria, a trusted